never made it work. After many heartbreaking attempts, we were forced to admit defeat. Around this time, other microscopes emerged that could also image atoms. These probe microscopes work by gliding an incredibly small stylus across the sample. The stylus detects variations in quantum effects or nanoscale forces to then map the surface structure of the sample. These were easier to build, and because they didn't use any lenses, they weren't limited by spherical aberration. Their images were even 3D.
But the looming issue was that these probes weren't really seeing atoms. It was more like feeling atoms.
Throughout the 80s and 90s, this was all we had. But what if there was another way? Scher's theorem proved that a diverging radially symmetric lens isn't possible.
But if you're willing to give up on that symmetry, well, the theorem no longer applies. The problem is that radial symmetry is arguably the most important property of any lens, because if you break the symmetry, you also break the image.
But three maverick scientists thought there might be a way. Newt Urban, Max Hayter, and Harold Rose were known in the electron microscope community as troublemakers, and for years, barely anyone had been interested in their research, or more importantly, in funding it.
And for a good reason, too. Their idea was kind of crazy. I mean, they purposely wanted to break the image using a lens that wasn't symmetric. Their hope was that there would be a small part of this distorted image that would be slightly divergent. And maybe, just maybe, this small part could correct the spherical aberration of the original lens. So they got to work.
To distort the image, they used a massive nest of electromagnets with 6, 8, or even 10 separate coils and magnets with bumpy magnetic fields. These were known as the hexapole, octapole, and decapole magnets. So as the electron beam passed through a hexapole, it would twist and squeeze the flat 2D image into a triangular saddle, and the circumference of the original beam would be pushed into the three corners, with the rest of the interior stretched out. But now the middle of the image would have a slight concave bow, giving the effect of a small divergence. Then Rose, Hayter, and Urban forced the beam through a second hexapole, one that worked the opposite way, so it would unbend the distorted image back into a circular shape. But now they calculated this new image might have the remnants of that tiny divergence still in its center, with spherical aberration pointing in the opposite way. So if they got their maths and engineering exactly right, they could feed an image with spherical aberration through these two lenses to almost completely counteract the effect.
And I imagine a lot of people in the field thought it was a crazy idea when it was proposed, right?
Not only the concept, but that this is like technically feasible, I believe. It was thought that this is not possible.
By May 1997, the group had just 2 months of development time left before their last sponsor withdrew their backing, and to make matters worse, their latest lens iteration was still just on the drawing board. But somehow, by the 23rd of July, just a week before their funding ran out, the new lens was ready to test. They gingerly placed it into the microscope, but like every time before it,